What is this? What is this? Lunce is this? What is this? Oh. What is this? Lunce is this? What is this? Lunce is this? Oh. Lunce is leads to 5. Oh, Lunce is leads to 5. You know it. Lunce is leads to 5. Oh yeah, Lunce is leads to 5.
John, how difficult of a list was this to put together?
So it was difficult because, like you said, tons of people in it that you could have chosen a lot of it and taken a lot of different angles based on your personal ideas. Like my 5 is probably not even close to your 5, not even close to anybody else's 5. But also the way, here's the thing with Lunce's list that always gets me. You always phrase it in a certain way that it's never just, what's your 5 best X? Or what's the 5 worst Y? You know, it's who are the 5 actors and actresses from both part 1 and 2 combined that I'm most invested in? So when I say that, I think it's about finding balance with all of these people when it comes to their age, because, you know, somebody who's super old coming in, there's a lot of older, you know, royalty people in movies like this that there's not a lot of future necessarily, an incredible past, but there's not a lot of future to necessarily invest into what's going to happen moving forward. You also have to, you know, how much do I like them kind of coupled with what their age is and what their career trajectory tends to be. And then, of course, off the screen stuff. I may love them on screen, but plenty of people, especially in Hollywood, have a lot of issues off screen that could potentially hinder them from growing the career the way I would want it to be.
You're trying to pick people that are the furthest away from their ceiling that you genuinely enjoy. And it's not an easy task, but we're going to get to it. Let's start off.
There's people that I know I probably need to invest in too, as opposed to just wanting to invest in. Like some people, it's like, well, I can't leave this person off. Maybe I'm not as invested, but like I understand this person's going to be huge, that I'm going to invest more time into seeing their filmography, learning more about them too.
Let's start with number 5. We're going to go up to the big board here and get this name up there in the 5 spot. What's tough about this list is not just who makes the cut, but who doesn't make the cut. Who do you leave off, and what type of arguments will you get from the panel here and from the chat? You guys weigh in and let us know. All right, number 5. Oh, Dave Bautista. I was actually thinking that he would be higher on Lunce's list. I really thought he would be maybe in the 3 spot. But at number 5,
he doesn't use the U in his WWE name, so I feel like I have to.
You're going with full wrestler Batista here. This is an interesting selection because I fully expected, this was the one that I fully expected to make the list because I know you're a big fan. I am as well. But I'm surprised at the number 5 spot. Is it just an age thing? Are you age discriminating against Batista?
It is part of it. Honestly, he's older than I thought he was. And I mean, I know he was wrestling, you know, back in, you know, I guess he came in during the Attitude Era to WWE and was Evolution and all that. That was early 2000s to, you know, around mid 2000s, whatever. But anyway,
more the Ruthless Aggression era. But
he has a good filmography so far. He was huge in Guardians. Drax, I feel like, kind of became one of those perfect humor characters. The kind of the dry humor hit with everybody. Everybody enjoyed him. You know, Blade Runner 2049 for me is where it really turned up from. It's just a wrestler playing a superhero, which you could throw a lot of people in. John Cena's done it. The Rock's done it. A lot of people have done it. But Triple H even did it, I guess, in Blade. But like Blade Runner 2049 then took it to the next level. He's only in the movie for like 5 minutes. But it's like, to me, it's an Academy Award performance that he gives. It's just very limited to where it's like you can't really do much with it from that perspective. And then after that, I think kind of turning his career into like, hey, he's pretty good in most of the stuff that he does. And here's the problem. A lot of these people fall into the trap of like the Tooth Fairy or the Pacifier, those kind of movies that like The Rock and Vin Diesel, these bigger guys fall into, where it's like, oh, it's funny if they do a kid's movie. Don't care about that kind of stuff. He's done it too. But then when you go on the opposite of end of that, and it's not my kind of movie, and I still haven't seen it, but I know Army of the Dead was super well received.
I loved it
by a lot of people, and he's obviously one of the, I guess is he the main person in that?
He is the main person in that Netflix movie.
Dune, obviously, coming out back when it did, Knock at the Cabin. Overall, I really liked his performance. The movie itself, with M. Night Shyamalan, there's plenty of things you can point and be like, yeah, no,
Did you ever see Stuber?
I never saw Stuber. That's him and Kumail Nanjiani.
Correct.
Yeah, I never saw that one because once again, it looks like a stupid kind of
comedy
that it's just not. Kumail Nanjiani's good in small doses and good in certain things, but overall, he's not my favorite. But no, I just think he's on the right track, but he's much older to where it's like he's on the right track. When are we going to get to where he's playing old roles? Like what Christopher Walken's doing in this movie or something like that. Like there's certain people that they're just older and they just have very limited roles. He's 55.
Wow.
I know. See, I wouldn't think that. I would think like late 40s. But when it's like, oh, he's about to hit his late 50s, that's a different story.
Did you bring up Glass Onion with him being in there?
Glass Onion too. Yeah. I'm not huge on the Knives Out movies, but I mean, he's good in most of the things I watch. But there's a lot of movies he's in that it's like, I don't really care about seeing that movie necessarily.
Well, I just recently watched Knock at the Cabin, and while the movie is solid, it's not one that has you thinking about it long term. And I thought it would be a think piece where it's like a discussion piece, like, oh my gosh, what would you do? And all this stuff. And it really doesn't lead to a lot of questions that you have after. It's pretty much a straightforward, we're just going to tell you the story, and when it's done,
but
you
not
can
his
stop
fault.
thinking about it. Not his fault. He gave a great performance, a tremendous performance.
I think that's the first, I was telling John earlier, I think that's the first movie I've seen in the trailer where the movie begins exactly where the trailer begins. Like that first scene is the first scene you see in the trailer. It's like it just starts. There's no build up. It starts. And it had a lot of potential. He was great in it. What's Harry Potter?
Ron
Weasley. Weasley was
Rupert,
good.
Rupert Grint.
He was interesting as a crazy man, but like it's a great story that just didn't really go anywhere.
Right. It didn't go many places, but it was a solid base hit in my opinion, especially for an M. Night movie. That, you know, with him, he's either he's on fire or he's ice cold.
Well, because there's expectations. The expectations are it should be Sixth Sense every movie. Yeah. I mean, like, you can only fall.
Hard thing to live up to.
Yeah.
I mean, he was basically slapped on the cover of every magazine saying this is the next guy, and then he had to live up to that reputation.
And
it's a tough thing.
And now it's Jordan Peele.
Yeah.
Everybody, it has to be a hit, and I'm not a big fan. Go ahead.
Okay. We'll get into that another time.
That's a whole different discussion.
Get into that another time. That's going to take us down a whole nother rabbit hole. All right, let's move on to number 4. These are the 5 actors or actresses within Dune Part 1 or Dune Part 2 that John has bought the most stock of and is expecting great things from. Dave Bautista is at the number 5 spot. Number 4, this has caused some friction on the next round, this name right here. I'm not sure if we're allowed to bring that up. Are we allowed to bring up that this name has caused a little bit of friction on the next round?
Sure, why not?
Zendaya. I know you are a big fan of Euphoria. You kind of jumped on that bandwagon maybe a little bit later than everybody else, but once you were on, you were hooked. It's a really high-quality production for sure from HBO. I know Challengers is a movie that Zendaya has coming out that you're very excited for.
Yep.
Zendaya is obviously dating Tom Holland, which is keeping her in the headlines all the time. Why does Zendaya make the number 4 spot?
So Zendaya's one that coming in when you first gave me this list, it's like, okay, do I put Zendaya 1? Do I put Zendaya 2? Do I drop it down to 3? And then she ended up down at 4. Kind of the same thing with Bautista too, but surprisingly a small filmography, honestly, from her. I mean, she's only 27, so I'm not saying like, oh, she's lived this whole life. How does she only have X amount of films? But, I feel like she's been all over the place the last 5 or 6 years. Euphoria has a lot to do with that. Spider-Man has a lot to do with that. Dune has a little bit to do with that, just the talking leading up to the first movie, even though she's really not in the first movie a ton. I like The Greatest Showman, which was one of her first big movies that she did there with Hugh Jackman, Zac Efron, good cast in that one. Also Rebecca Ferguson as well in that one. But for me, I honestly think she's going to back off a little bit. It seems like the Tom Holland thing, and I never really realized it, but my wife started showing me, she is all about Tom Holland, and every little press thing she could possibly do is all about, I don't want to talk about me. I want to talk about Tom Holland. I want to talk about what he's doing. I want to, hey, which one of your co-stars do you think is the cutest? Tom Holland. He's not in the movie, but he's my boyfriend, so I'm going to say that. Like, and my wife pointed out, I think it's a fair point that, like, if after the Dune train finishes, because there's likely going to be a third movie after this, then she's going to back off, get married, start a family. Like, I can see that happening to where, just in terms of investing in the future, number of movies, number of big roles or whatever, she's obviously incredible in Euphoria and has won multiple Emmys for it. But I'm just curious what her future actually looks like, because I don't know if any of us can really project past Challengers and whatever Dune she does, what that actually looks like for her.
Zendaya not making really the rounds on children's cartoons, which is sort of where your world is right now.
I did see the premiere outfit she wore. That was kind of cool.
It's kind of robotic.
Yeah, very revealing robotic.
It was interesting.
And I have never seen an episode of Euphoria. I'm trying to think. I think I've seen one of the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. Which Michael Keaton with the Homecoming.
Homecoming.
I've seen Homecoming. I thought it was a good movie. I just haven't seen the other 16 that they've done. But yeah, she's a pretty girl too.
The reason that Zendaya was a little bit of controversy on the next round, because the question was asked, who's the bigger star, Zendaya or Adele? And Lance was pretty adamant that it was Adele, and you were pretty adamant it was Zendaya. And I believe Zendaya is the correct answer currently right now as we speak.
It's not a landslide though, because all this stuff with Adele in Vegas and stuff like that. I mean, that the demand to see Adele in Vegas was that was a massive story for 2 weeks. Can Zendaya do something like that?
I mean, with her music, no, but she's kind of left that behind. I feel like more people would go see her in a movie than would go see Adele.
Because you can give more access
in concert. I mean, it's hard to make a comparison.
You have more access to a movie than a concert.
But the hype would be more, I feel like, for Zendaya.
Okay.
It was an intense discussion.
Oh, I know. I've been there. We get a lot of those intense conversations.
It happens.
All right, we're going to continue on with Lunce's list, going to that number 3 spot of the 5 actors or actresses that you're buying up all the stock for. Whether you're buying or selling your home, you can contact Realtor Jim Wilson with Location Real Estate at 205-329-4758 or visit jimwilson.locationre.com. Jim, active with the U.S. military, dedicated to everything he does, and will work hard on your behalf to make sure that you are satisfied. He loves being transparent with his clients. He loves being able to give you all the latest information about that buying or selling process. And you can trust Jim Wilson there with Location Real Estate at 205-329-4758 or jimwilson.locationre.com. That is location with a K. All right, number 3, Timothée Chalamet is the way I pronounce it. I know that everyone pronounces it a little bit different, but there's so many difficult names these days. Timothée Chalamet is at the number 3 spot, which actually seems like it may be a little bit off for me because I cannot predict who you have in the 1 and 2 because I actually thought that would be your 1 and 2 and 3 right there. I thought it'd be in that order, 1, 2, 3. And you got 2 more spots. What's going on here? Why Timothée Chalamet at number 3, who's easily the star of the Dune series thus far?
He is definitely the main character in this. Zendaya will start shifting more into the main character, I think. But first time I saw him was Interstellar when he was the younger Casey Affleck. Is that who he was in Interstellar?
That is
correct. Younger Casey Affleck. So actually starting in a Nolan film.
Had a bad cough.
Yeah. Call Me By Your Name, though, when that came out, it's one of the best movies I've ever seen. I loved it. It was my favorite of that year. He did that and Lady Bird in the same year, which Lady Bird got tons of acclaim. He didn't necessarily for that movie, but overall the movie did. Followed it up with a good performance in Beautiful Boy, then Little Women. I mean, he's had a lot of hits, and there's a reason was selected to be the main guy here. For whatever reason, I have actually been to the theater to see Wonka and still haven't seen Wonka. I have done everything in the world to try to watch that movie, and every time I do, something gets in the way. It's crazy, and it's been like
that's probably a good thing.
This whole saga now of how I haven't seen Wonka yet. It's pretty much the only movie I haven't seen from last year. Big movie that I still need to see. However, part of the reason he went down is because he's dating a Kardashian now. That seems to be a death sentence for a lot of people when they start hooking up with the Kardashian clan. That
is a Laurel line if I've ever heard it.
Be
honest, Laurel gave you that line.
She does, and I watch the Kardashians all the time because of her. But name somebody who's dated a Kardashian who's doing good right now.
Timothée Chalamet would be my answer.
He just started though.
Travis Barker's okay.
Yeah. Travis Barker,
he's doing all right. He got the skin grafts.
He's okay, but and
they're touring right now.
They are, but it's just different with him, it seems like. And I feel like there's a lot more he could be doing if it were not for that. Now, he's doing okay, but, I mean, let's talk about Kanye. Let's talk about all the basketball players.
So we have to name the answers.
Let's talk about
that we know are traps.
Everybody. Yeah. But we'll see what happens with that. Hadn't been going on for long, but he is dating a Kardashian now. I guess.
This is a weird thing I do with Timothée Chalamet. Whenever I see him, I think he is Finn Wolfhard's more attractive brother.
I see it a little bit.
Like that's my brother. He's the cute one.
Here's the thing. Finn Wolfhard has grown up and isn't the cute little kid anymore from Stranger Things. And
he's a Ghostbuster.
Yeah. I think his career is running out because that's what he played for a long time, even in movies. But Timothy Chalamet now, you can tell. I mean, he's 28, but you can tell he's getting older looking.
Yeah.
Because he still kind of had that boyish charm, I guess, for a little bit. That I am curious how that ultimately ends up impacting his career moving forward. Because watching him do promotion for this, you see a few pictures, is like, it's not quite the same I remember from Call Me By Your Name. It's not quite the same I remember when he was, playing this role. But
it's going to be a Leonardo DiCaprio type of thing where he's going
some bad teeth and do Scorsese movies.
He's going to end up becoming, I think, the guy in Hollywood.
Could be.
I'm buying up all the stock I can.
Could be. I mean, he's number 3. It's not like,
of
all the people.
The performance that really sold me on him was Beautiful Boy.
Beautiful Boy?
With Steve Carell.
It's a good one.
And I think that movie's highly underrated. Nobody really talks about it, but it's really good, dealing with addiction and trying to save a family member from going down that path when you really don't have any answers. Beautiful Boy is a movie I highly recommend. All right, let's go to number 2 on Lunce's list. I have no idea where this is going because that was genuinely where I thought the top 3 would be. Those 3 names right there. Number 2. Some are recommending that Christopher Walken be number 1 on the list, and I don't think that's going to be happening. I think
Spot 2.
Yeah, All right. Oh gosh, I was hoping this wouldn't happen.
He's got Oscar in his name.
I am not an Oscar Isaac fan.
I have 25 movies in my greatest of all time. He is in 3 of them. He is 44 years old. Actually, not as old as I thought he was. I think he has room to keep growing. I think he will one day win an Oscar. And surprisingly enough, I found him through Sucker Punch, which is what people consider a terrible movie. I actually liked it.
I think it's underrated.
I think it's underrated too. He's the bad guy in that. Was in Drive later that year, which I actually just watched for the first time a few months ago. Enjoyed that.
Is he the only guy that's in both Star Wars and Dune? The only actress that's in both?
Off the top of my head, yes.
Okay.
But then Inside Llewyn Davis is one of my favorite films of all time. Coen Brothers movie, Tim, Justin Timberlake, Carey Mulligan, Adam Driver, got an incredible cast in it. Garrett Hedlund, John Goodman. But he plays a struggling musician. That one is really, really good. Right after that, he did Ex Machina and then Force Awakens in the same year. He's had some bad movies, but Annihilation I really liked.
Great book.
I'm sorry, John.
I like the
film.
movie. I like Moon Knight. Probably my 3rd favorite MCU show behind Loki and Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Did you see the card counter? Did you see that movie?
I did. It was a bad one.
Ugh.
Then he's also going to be Dr. Frankenstein in Del Toro's new Frankenstein too. So he has a good path ahead of him because Moon Knight, I would assume, will continue to be used in the MCU. And like I said, of the 25 films I have considered best of all time, he's in 3 of them.
I don't have much to add here. I'm not a fan. Not a fan. Oscar Isaac reminds me of someone in my life that we didn't get along. It's as simple as that. We didn't get along. And he reminds me as a dead ringer of that person.
Oh, I would like to hear about
and
that.
Then I always try to give Oscar Isaac, the benefit of the doubt.
It doesn't seem like you're doing it right now.
I'm not. Nope. I'm not. I've sold all of my Oscar Isaac stock. All of it.
Well, he's only number 2, so
I can't do anything to add any.
Have you seen Inside Llewyn Davis?
I have not.
Incredible movie. Did you see Annihilation?
Yeah.
Did you see?
Yeah, I did see Annihilation after you raved about it. Ugh.
Yeah. Have you seen Sucker Punch?
I have seen Sucker Punch. It's a great still image movie. If you were just to take certain images out of it, it's great.
I said the same thing for every Zack Snyder movie. It's like, it looks pretty good.
Let's go to number 1 on Lunce's list. I have a feeling you will redeem yourself somehow, some way. I have no idea where you're going because I didn't think Oscar Isaac would trump the other 3. But that has happened. I will get over it. Zach says, whoa, Card Counter was a great Schrader movie. No, it was not. That's my opinion, but that was a torturous movie to sit through. And it is a movie that features torture. And at number 1 is Florence Pugh.
So my first impression from her was Fighting with My Family, where she played Paige. Movie was okay. It got rave reviews, but I thought it was just okay. But I thought she was good in it. My biggest problem with that was Vince Vaughn, not her. Same year she had Midsummer, which I absolutely did not want to watch, but all of y'all talked about it. And my wife was like, please just sit down and watch it. And I watched it.
She was like, don't worry, darling. It's going to be fine.
I was all false getting to that next. Anyway.
Oh, okay.
Just haven't hung it up yet, but pulled
there
that from Poker
Who would
Room
have
there.
thought? John championing a horror movie. Well, it's not really horror. It's more artistic, and I like it for its visual elements. No, it's a horror movie.
It's horror. I never said it wasn't horror.
Just go ahead and say it.
I never said it wasn't horror. It is
talk
horror.
about how big of a horror movie fan you are.
No.
I have to really emphasize all the R's in horror.
Yeah. Here's the other thing. I wouldn't say she's my favorite one from the list, but she is one that has the biggest upside. She will win an Oscar. She is now Black Widow in the MCU. She does movies like Don't Worry, Darling that weren't necessarily great. I didn't like the movie, but it was a social moment in time that she could do movies like that. And of course, back-to-back Oppenheimer and Dune. So she's in what's going to be Best Picture winner. The Oscars coming up, and then a movie that could have fought Oppenheimer for Best Picture had it come out last year. We'll see what happens this year, but with Dune. So, by the way, also two of these people in The Boy and the Heron, I don't want it to win Best Animated Film. I want Spider-Man and Across the Spider-Verse to win, but Florence Pugh in The Boy and the Heron, Batista in The Boy and the Heron as well.
We got to talk about this list for who's not on it. Because there's one name that should be on this list that you do not have on this list for sure.
Do you want to know who number 6 is? I imagine that's it.
Who is number 6?
Austin Butler.
That is correct. Austin Butler should have been on this list, and I don't know why Austin Butler was not on this list, because that kid can act. And he is going to do incredible things. And if you're buying up stock, buy all the stock you can in Austin Butler, who played Elvis in the movie with the same name.
And he has done that.
And he's
in Dune.
But we've already seen shades of what he's going to be doing coming up, including the Bike Riders, which
I'm looking forward to seeing.
Is relaunching its marketing campaign. Another trailer for the Bike Riders dropped today. It's a Jeff Nichols period piece about a Midwestern motorcycle club starring Jodie Comer, Austin Butler, and Tom Hardy. It's one of my most anticipated of the year. It opens in theaters June 21st. And its original release was affected by the SAG-AFTRA strike.
Yeah.
But this is a movie set in Chicago in 1965. It gives me a Goodfellas meets The Outsiders meets Crybaby meets Wild Hogs. That's what I'm getting out of this.
Wild Hogs. Well, you just took a sledgehammer to the hype for it by saying Wild Hogs.
I'm excited about this movie. And
but here's
I think
my
Austin
thing.
Butler is going to be a huge star. He already is a budding star. He's going to be even bigger, and I cannot believe he's not on your list.
He had one role.
Big role.
It was good. Look, it was good.
Nominated for an Oscar.
He deserved to be nominated for an Oscar. He deserved to be beat by Brendan Fraser, but he deserved to be nominated for an Oscar. But that is it. Now, I'm looking forward to the Bike Riders. I think it looks good. But here's my thing with Austin Butler. My butt got in the seat to see Elvis because I'm not a big Baz Luhrmann guy because of Tom Hanks, who made
You're not a big Elvis guy.
Who made number 1, 2, and 3 on my Lunce's list yesterday. So Tom Hanks is the one that got me in the seat there, not Austin Butler and his portrayal. I said he's good. You're rolling your eyes. I said he's good. I said he deserved to be nominated for an Oscar. If the Bike Riders had Austin Butler and a bunch of no names, zero interest. But seeing other people in it, including Tom Hardy, who overall I like, then that makes me more interested in it. He was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Never mentioned that. He was part of the crew that was sent to kill Sharon Tate, or did they? And he's done stuff. He was actually remember him from Nickelodeon back in the day. But overall, I'm not sold that he's going to be the thing, because there's a lot of people that you could say, oh, they're going to be the thing, and then they disappear. And so I'm just not sold yet. He's my first one off the list. There's multiple people off the list that I think you could say are going to be the next big thing.
It is called Lunce's list for a reason, but it's an abomination that you don't have Austin Butler on this list. That's just my opinion, and I'm so sorry to share that with you.
Austin Butler at best is fourth. At best is fourth behind Florence Pugh, Timothée Chalamet, and Zendaya. I understand if you don't want Oscar Isaac.
Oscar Isaac is dead weight on this list, and
not for me.
Austin Butler should have been there. That's all I will say.
Nope.
We're having a nerd battle right now. Let's see. We've got some of your chat coming in here. We have Richard that says, Lunce being coached by his wife on the list, it seems. Did she do your homework for you?
Yeah.
But then you have his wife, Laurel, say, Richard, I would have included Austin Butler, but that's just me.
No, she fights for Austin
You
Butler.
should have listened to Laurel on this.
She fights for a lot of these people, but, I mean, she is 100%. When I told her the list, she's like, well, Austin Butler's number 1. And I'm like, no, he's not.
G. Curbo says, is Tom Hanks the best actor of all time? According to John Lunsford, over the past 4 days, yes.
Of all time, yes. Right this second, no. But of all time, yes.
Yeah. All right.
It's hard to argue against that.
No, I agree. Like,
he went on a great run that will be
greatest run.
unmatched.
The
The greatest run. It will be unmatched.
Okay.
But he's Tom Hanks. We love him because he's Tom Hanks.
There's difference between greatest actor and most versatile actor. Like Daniel Day-Lewis is versatile, but like he's a better actor than Tom Hanks. But I'm not going to see every Daniel Day-Lewis movie.
I'm gonna be honest. You want a lot of snooze fest. It's not against him as an actor, but a lot of his movies, it's like
correct because he's so artsy.
Yeah, he is.
And Tom Hanks is like, I'll do comedies, I'll do whatever. Daniel Day-Lewis isn't one to. I want to do slapstick.
Has he ever tried?
He retired, didn't he?
He did, but I didn't know if he ever did any comedies like back in the day before he became
My Left Foot wasn't that funny.
the male Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
All right. That's Lunce's list. Thank you, John, for putting that out there. Somehow I'm less excited now for Dune than I even was before.
And everybody said Christopher Walken. You can't put Christopher Walken on this list.
No, you can't put Christopher Walken on this list. Unless you got another music video
Christopher
coming
barely
up.
walking. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
Yeah.